idea. I just submitted this idea to the Netflix contest if you want to check it out, but I wanted to explain the idea. So hear me out. What if there really were parallel universes? What if you're alive in another universe, living a completely different life? So there's this girl. She's young, she's in college, she's living a pretty normal life. But then one day she wakes up in a strange place. She walks back home, confused and concerned. She can't find her phone, she can't find her keys, but luckily the front door to her place was unlocked. And when she walks in, she comes face to face with herself. Obviously, they both freak out. After finally calming down and asking each other lots of questions, they figured something out. The girl woke up in a parallel universe. Now they're both fighting to live in the same reality. Will she ever get home? Does she even want to go back? How is this even possible? And soon they will find out that only one of them can survive in each reality. Yo, I really want to win this contest. I have a movie idea. I know it's been a little bit, but I'm back. So hear me out. A young woman has spent basically her entire life in the mental hospital. But while she's in the hospital, she gets pregnant and has a baby boy. Soon after his birth, she begins to act normal and stable, so she gets released to raise him. But by the boy's 18th birthday, his mother is very ill. So he went to go visit her, maybe for the last time. But before he left, her last words to him were, "I'm not as crazy as everyone says I am. Trace my steps and come and find me." What? The next day, she died. He wasn't there for the death, and she wanted a closed casket funeral. But her words kept playing in his mind. Come and find me. So he kind of sort of did something really illegal. He dug up her grave. Inside, he found nothing but her mental hospital bracelet from years ago. So he does what she says. He checks himself into the mental hospital and begins to trace her steps. Is his mother alive? Is this some sort of sick game she's playing? Are there more clues within the hospital walls? Or did the pain of her death cause him to lose it? I have a movie idea. I'm back. Just hear me out. So there's this young doctor, and she's worked in the emergency room for about a year. But on a Friday afternoon, it seemed to be a pretty slow day. But then a call comes in. A young man accidentally drove his car off of the road and into the river. He was unconscious when they pulled him out, but he was still alive, so they rush him to the emergency room. The doctor gets working on him right away. She does some of her medical magic, and now he's stable and he's gonna be fine. And now everyone's just kind of waiting for this guy to wake up because no one knows who he is. Finally, he wakes up. But seeing his body hooked up to a whole bunch of medical wires, he was freaking out. Asking questions like, where am I? How did I get here? The doctor tells him, sir, you were in an accident. You're at the hospital. We're taking care of you. It's going to be okay. Now that everybody's all chilled out, it's time to get some information. And here's where things get interesting. The doctor asks, sir, what's your name? He tells her his name. And when were you born? He says, June 2nd, 2045. And what? Did you say 2045? Immediately, the doctor begins to worry. She thinks this guy must have some brain trauma. Because as of right now, the year is 2021. She says, sir, that is impossible. I think you're just confused. Immediately, the guy starts freaking out again. He swears that's when he was born. So she asks him, do you have any family members I can contact for you? He said yes and gave both of his parents' names. So she leaves and goes to contact the parents. Except there's one little problem. The names that he gave her were for two toddlers that lived in completely different states. I don't know about you, but there ain't no way that those toddlers are his parents. So she goes back in and she tells him, sir, those are names for children. Those are not your parents. She asks him if he has a wallet, an ID. Now, luckily, the police dropped off a bag of his belongings that they recovered from the car accident. He tells her, check my bag. She looks through the bag, finds a wallet, and goes to pull out the ID. And she immediately thinks this has to be a fake. The birth date says 2045. While she's going to try to figure out who he actually is, she gives him back his bag. He's looking through it, you know, his wallet, some dirty socks, sunglasses, a letter. An unopened letter addressed to him. From him. The letter says, if you're reading this for the first time, that means it worked. The machine worked. I knew there could be a chance of memory loss, that's why I'm writing this now, but I don't have much time. Here's what you absolutely need to know. You have traveled back in time to the year 2021. Find the girl. She should be a doctor during this time at Ryland Hospital. She is the key to everything. Find her and save humanity before it's too late. Find Dr. Stone. The doctor comes back in to casually check on him. He freezes, looks down at her name tag, and sees that it says, Dr. Stone. Is he actually from the future? Why does humanity need saving? And will Dr. Stone save the future? I have a movie idea. Hear me out. So there's this young delivery truck driver, and every day he stops at the same house because there's a young woman who makes him a sandwich and gives him a water. So kind. They like each other, but they don't know it yet. Well, one day he shows up at her house at the usual time, but something is off. For the first time in months, she's not waiting outside for him. He gets out of his truck and goes to knock on the door, but the door is cracked open. Worried and confused, he's about to call out her name when somebody taps him on the shoulder. It was her. She says, "I'm sorry, I had a super busy day and I'll see you tomorrow," and basically rushes back into her house. Okay. So he gets back in his truck and drives off. A few streets down, he has to slam on the brake. That same woman, covered in bruises and crying, is standing in the middle of the road trying to get him to stop. He runs out and says, "What happened? I just saw you." This is what she said. "That wasn't me. That was my twin sister. She thinks she got rid of me. She wants to take my life." Acting normal, he goes back to the house. An identical woman opens the door. He asks, "Do you have a twin?" And she says, "I do, but she wants my life. She's crazy. You can't trust her." So which one is the woman that he's known for months? Who should he believe? Does he fall in love with the wrong one? I have a movie idea. I'm back. Just hear me out. So there's this guy, and his life has sucked. I mean, this guy has been put through the ringer. His parents died at a young age, he got into drugs, he fell in the wrong crowd of people, and now he's 25 years old, and he's still with the wrong crowd of people. It be that way. And he's known as the guy that does all the hard, tough jobs. Illegal ones. So his boss comes to him one day and says that he has been requested to do a very specific job. His boss tells him he doesn't know what the job is yet, he just knows that they're offering millions of dollars. And then if he accepts the job, the person who hired him will be sending him the information anonymously. So he hears $1 million and he's like, I'll take it. I'll take the job. He needs this money. I need it too, but whatever. Anyway, he accepts the job, and a few weeks later, a package shows up on his doorstep. He opens up the package, and inside is what he needs to do. Whoever hired him needs him to kidnap somebody. I mean, he's never done that before, but it seems pretty simple, right? Wrong. The person he has to kidnap is the president's daughter. Now he's freaking out. He's accepted the job. He can't back out. Backing out of something like this means one thing. He'll be, killed if you didn't understand, but anyway. So he has to do 3 things. Grab the girl, take her to the address that was given to him deep within the mountains, and then hand her over to whoever requested the job. It's game time. It's the day of the kidnapping. He's been watching her for weeks. He knows her every move. Is when she's leaving school with her friends. He takes her, throws a bag over her head, ties her hands in ropes. She's crying, she's freaking out. He drives for a few hours and they reach the location. It's some random house in the mountains. At this point, she's still crying. He gets out of the car and looks around, but nobody's there. So he thinks, maybe they're in the house. He grabs her, takes her up the stairs, and knocks on the door. No answer. Somehow she gets the bag off of her head, and all of a sudden, she stops crying. I mean, she turns completely calm. Way too calm. As her hands are tied up, she reaches out and punches in a code on the door keypad. The door unlocks. He follows her into the house. She turns to him and she says, "Take these ropes off my hands." He says, "No, somebody's coming to get you." She looks at him and she goes, "Nobody's coming." He looks at her, he's like, "What do you mean nobody's coming? Someone better be coming. I have the president's daughter. I will go to jail for life." She grabs him, looks him in the eyes, and says, "Don't ask questions and don't reach out to anyone. It's time for me to disappear. I am going to fake my death and you are going to help me." Did she set this all up? Was she the anonymous person? Why does she need to disappear? Will they succeed in faking her death? And why did she choose him?